Alrighty. Good evening, Derpathon. My name is Mazu, and I'll be running Wrath, Aeon of Ruin. It's a new, recent retro FPS game. It's based on Quake 1, more specifically Dark Places engine. And the run is really hectic, so I have Chaos Wolf here doing commentary for the run.
Hello everyone, I'm Chaos Wolf, or you can just call me Wolf, and yeah, I'm here to provide commentary for Mazu, since this game is very difficult to speedrun and requires a lot of focus.
Alright, ready for countdown? 3, 2, 1, go.
So as stated before, Wrath is on a modified Quake engine called Dark Places, and the difference being that if you were familiar with Quake speedrunning or seen it before, you'll know that it has a lot of bunny hopping. Now, you can still somewhat bunny hop in this, but there is no forward acceleration. So we have to make up for that with a weapon that we acquire here in the tutorial level.
Short skip coming here, where we will just walk forward to teleport the shepherd here, who will tell us more about the lore. And we have first ramp jump coming up from this tree route here. So yeah, unfortunately we have to play through the tutorial first before we get to the real meat of the game. But
So that little object, so that structure he just went under is called a shrine, and that is essentially like bonfires that you would see in Dark Souls. They restore your health and cause a save point. So here's our Blade of Ruination, our actually very good weapon and our main source of movement here. So the idea is that you chain together your bunny hops, and then at the height of your jump, you'll hit the blade dash, which is the alt fire. You may notice that it glows red, and that's just if you can hold down and charge it. That doesn't increase your forward momentum, it just increases the damage that it will do. So right there is our first artifact called Flask of Rage. It just increases your damage output. There we go, nicely done. Lined up all of those widows. And right here is a gate skip. The very specific 45-degree angle jump and blade dash, you'll squeeze right through there. It actually doesn't save a whole lot of time, and it is quite difficult, but with some practice, it's not too bad. And that is the tutorial down, and we will move on to the first hub area. The routing done here for the hub is mainly just, for most optimal movement through the hub. So we go Undercrofts first because it's closest. Oh, the Undercroft is where it really starts to demonstrate all the how you can take advantage of slopes. First, there's this little skip over the fence there, and
we skip some weapons. We picked up shotgun only for later use. It's a really good weapon.
Yeah, we just completely skip the pistol. It's not necessary. So coming up right here, yeah, Fang Spitter is like the nail gun in Quake. And coming up here is a series of very difficult jumps. And I'll let him focus a second. Okay. There you go. So if you notice the little structure there, the obelisk has kind of a sloped angle at the top, and if you dash into it with enough speed, it will boost you upwards, and that'll give you a lot of height to clear that distance. It's a very satisfying trick to get it. And we squeeze through a lot of tight corridors, a lot of enemies blocking us on our path here. And coming up is a there's a sloped wall right here that we can take advantage of. Very difficult to pull off under pressure because there's just so many enemies crowding around you. They do not want you to get this relic. There you go. So the relic collected, you can just stand on the portal and just teleport out. And we'll head off to level 5, which is the intended order here. But we come here second because this is where we get our slag cannon, which will start to introduce rocket jumping. And there is quite a long lead up to get it. If you see the loading screen there, that structure, there's quite a long lead up to getting to that. But as you'll see, Mazu's set up here, we can skip straight to that building very quickly. There you go. So you may saw the camera bob up and down. That's just he's spamming crouch, because if you don't quite make it, you can still kind of wiggle your way up. And here we go. Here's our slag cannon. And picking up any ammo along the way. Ammo routing is very important for the slag cannon. You need enough ammo to do all the skips that we need to do. And this section here, bunny hopping over really big chasm with lava at the bottom is quite difficult. He's trying to angle himself just so that he can pick up more ore along the way. There we go. This enemy right here kind of reminds me of a Mancubus from Doom. They do a lot of damage, and they're kind of gatekeeping the next our power up that we get to fly, and that will just quickly get us to the top here. And that's it. Now off to E1M4. The start here is going to have a lot of architecture that we can take advantage of, jumping off of slope surfaces and squeezing in between fences. It is also, you may have seen Mazu collect an item called a soul tether. Those serve as it's currency for saving and loading, which can be turned on in the options to just have infinite, but you have to select that every single time you do a run. So if you're proficient enough at this game as Mazu is, you don't need that option, but it is kind of important to collect the tokens wherever you can. And we'll actually see probably the only use of it as a mechanical advantage coming up here near the end of the level. Throw these couple of switches and it'll open up the path underneath. Alright, and right in here. So, after collecting the relic, Mazu's going to do a save and load. And what this does, it interrupts the trigger for the enemies to spawn. Normally you have to fight a whole group of enemies, like a bunch of these flying enemies called a heretic. But that just skips all that, and now you just wait for the floor to descend in a very Quake Episode 4 fashion.
Yes, and this is one of the only moments where I have time to rest in the run a little bit. Yeah, auto-scrollers.
Execution after execution, and you finally get this one break. And that's it, back into the hub, and we'll proceed on to E1M3. Now with E1M3, there is a very large tree, as you can see there in the loading screen art, and there's also some smaller ones, and there's we take advantage of that a lot because the roots have sloped surfaces, so you can gain a lot of height out of your jumps by dashing into them. Very wide open area, a good place to practice your movement. And there he just collected the retro, and that's more of a backup weapon. If you maintain your shotgun ammo and ammo for another weapon that we'll be seeing later, I don't want to spoil it, you will probably never see the retro used, but it's right along the way, so you may as well take the time to get it. And there's a relic, and with a couple rocket jumps and onto these blade dashing onto these mushrooms, we can get out and leave. Alright, now that's 4 out of 5 relics collected. We just have one more. We're heading now to E1M2. Now, one of the reasons why this game had such a long development cycle is because they had to balance the difficulty for... Basically, let me back up a second. So you can actually, as we've been doing in the speedrun, playing the level in any order that we want. And so the idea is that if you do a level intended for earlier and you do it late, it actually gets harder. There's more enemies, and it also changes your ammo a bit, and that kind of creates an issue for us if we're speedrunning. There's more enemies getting in our way, and that has to be carefully maneuvered around. This is also another level that has one very small break right here in the water. You just pan your camera around and move through it. Very short break, but a welcome one indeed. There's no tricks to really do there. And right beyond this door is where we first encounter the Executioner. It's required to kill him to get through the gate. But that enemy, if you're playing on a higher difficulty, is quite dangerous. Very scary. They do a ton of damage. Can even like one-shot you. And that is it. That is all 5 relics. Sit back to the hub area where we're going to plop those in. And we will face off against the first boss, which is one of the Guardians.
Super scary boss.
Yeah. It's called the Lady of Ascension, and she's the scariest boss for the whole speedrun because there's no like consistent strategy for her. It's just you kind of have to feel it out. But once we get into the combat and arena here, we will just charge towards her and start blade dashing. You just hug closely to her legs and blade dash. So yeah, what makes her so scary is that some of her ranged attacks can just hit you directly in the face and do a lot of damage. But yeah, once you do enough damage, she'll go into a stun state, and you will just follow up with some gunshots and run around collecting ammo wherever you can. And there, Maz is collecting the Chalice of Lifeblood, which is like a mega health, which adds 20 on top of your health total, and that's really just a safety strat. And there she is. That's the first boss down. You gotta wait for the portal to appear.
You really don't want to die on the third phase of this fight, otherwise you will have to do it all over again.
Okay, so now we're off to Hub 2, or Episode 2. The hub itself can be a problem because there's a lot of platforms hovering over just a void, so you gotta watch your movement throughout there. Uh, thing to note about this episode especially is that it has a lot of verticality, and we'll start to see that. And by the way, there's the other weapon I mentioned, the lance, because of course every Quake-inspired game needs a railgun.
And here is coming up the coolest jump.
Also very difficult jump. Rocket jump off the crystal, and there you go, first try. Is much harder than that looks. And in fact, every trick I'd say is much harder than it looks. And here is the crystallizer weapon, which is one of the game's super weapons. Well, if you're familiar with like Duke 3D, it may remind you a bit of the freezer. And a frozen enemy can be shot with a primary fire and it will chain off. And it's a very unique and interesting weapon, one of my favorites for sure. And off to E2M3, which is one level especially where Mazu needs to focus because it has a lot of the rocket jumps back to back. And I believe the first we'll see a double rocket jump. There you go. So yeah, the one just before the double was especially difficult because you have to blast yourself back and also charge forward. So it can be quite easy to bonk your head if your movement's not on point there. And right here, Azu uses the Aegis of crap, I forgot the full name. It lowers your health to 1 and but also provides a invulnerability shield. But that shrine is right there to refill our health, so we have we take advantage of that because this area has a lot of dangerous enemies that we encounter.
Yeah, it's called Cruel Aegis.
Right, Cruel Aegis. Okay, next up is E2M5, which is gonna be one of the only times that we take advantage of the death warping. So, because we're playing on easy, one of the advantages here is that when you drop off into a death pit, it would normally kill you, but it will instead, on easy mode, warp you to where the closest location it thinks you should be, and we can take advantage of that to skip an area here that we'll see coming up. And that is coming up very soon once we come back outside. They're falling directly under that structure and then followed by a rocket jump. 2 rocket jumps, actually.
Unfortunate mistake there. That's why I use backup saves.
There you go. And into the combat arena. This has about 5 or 6 enemies that are mandatory to kill before the exit will open. And once they're all down, Mazu's just gonna collect a few supplies. Just waiting for the portal to rise up out of the floor here. now we come up to E2M4, which is especially special because, well, it's very short. So there we go. One rocket jump, followed by another, collect the relic, and we're out. That's it.
It is a nice change of pace for sure. And this is where we usually take a backup health, but I guess I'm gonna take it anyways.
Yeah, just for marathon safety. With all the rocket jumps, you do end up taking a lot of self-damage, and oftentimes you'll be at low health, but Mazu is fine, but he's still gonna pick it up anyway. This one also has a fall right here, and there is a point where if you've fallen enough, it won't let you blade dash. So the idea is to fall in that corner so that it will reset it. Yeah, your blade dash resets at any time you touch the floor. And that skips us from having to do everything down at the bottom, which can be a very lengthy process. Alright, didn't collect that artifact, that's fine, we'll have others later. And there is the Shockwave artifact. There'll be a combat arena at the end, which will take advantage of that. Followed by, but right here is going to be a very sick bridge jump, first try. Yeah, if you don't get that, there is a backup, but it looks really damn cool if you nail it. We're just going to float on over, collect all the things we need. And here's a little fake out where this one enemy appears, followed by a whole group of them. These guys, I forget what they're called, but they kind of remind me of the Scrag enemy from Quake. With them down, you just pick off the stragglers. And you are out.
Now we come up with the boss.
Yep, all 5 relics are collected, and we just plop those in and head off to the second boss. And this is where our ammo management is really key, because we're going to be mainly using 2 weapons for this fight. After navigating through the environment here, we're going to come into this large chamber that is going to require a series of switches.
Oh, I didn't get it. Thankfully that only costs you like 6 seconds if you fall down.
So the reason why the screen is all got a purple haze over it is because of a power-up stations you walk through, and that reveals some hidden stairways. Excuse me. So that's one switch down. There's a switch down, we just have one more, and then we'll be thrown into the combat arena itself with the boss. So he disappears, he takes you with him. Eventually. Takes a while. So yeah, we alternate between the lance and the shotgun because despite there being a reload animation, the game does not stop you from swapping weapons, so we take advantage of that there. And shooting all his fallen victims, we collect some ammo to resupply us. It's just rinse and repeat. And it is rather unpredictable where he'll pop up. This fight casually can be fairly difficult because of he'll chain his attacks off of those bodies if you don't take them out. And his health should be getting down pretty low now. There he goes. And that's it. Set off to... Now we're in episode 3. Now, if episode 2 has a lot of verticality, this one definitely has a lot of weird geometry that could be difficult to maneuver through. It's got a lot of like gore and viscera and bones. You'll see that all through. That's pretty much the theme of this episode.
Coming up with a really tricky jump here. Oh my god, I got it
Ooh,
on first.
You got it. That is not an easy jump. I don't even think your record has that.
Yeah, it doesn't have it.
Let's call it marathon luck. So this is also the level where we collect Mace of Devastation, which is another super weapon. We don't even use it as a weapon at first. It serves as a another means of upward lift, similar with rocket jumps, but it's a bit, you get more of a boost out of it. And there's a relic, and now we're out. So that was E3 M2. Now we're doing E3 M3, which is a rather dangerous level because it has a lot of traps in it, like a lot of death pits, a lot of crushers. Even the steam pipes can hurt you in here. In addition to that, it's also got a lot of jumps in this one. Plus, there's one enemy that we're hoping doesn't make an appearance. We'll see. Hopefully we get some more marathon luck here and he won't get in our way.
Seems like he decided to behave today.
Yeah. The flying enemy known as a heretic can quite often get in your face and block you. But the Blade of Ruination is so powerful you can just alt fire and dash into him. There he goes, squeezing right through those bars. It's very hard to do that while in motion. Again, just wherever you can, he's stocking up on ore for the slag cannon. Alright, so next up is E3M1. This level is going to be the first time that we use the Mace of Devastation for a jump. And it comes up very soon. The first is just a series of some slag cannon jumps. Here we go. And there it is. It takes about a second for the alt fire, but it provides a lot of lift out of it, and you'll be seeing that a couple more times. Other than that, very straightforward level.
Yeah, episode 3 has been really good so far.
Dodging, weaving around all those enemies. There's a relic. Okay, next up is E3M5, but first we have to do a difficult jump here in the hub area, and of course Mazu nails it first try. You know, E3M5 is going to have the longest combat arena in this whole game, in the whole speed run. There's about 12 or so enemies you have to kill before the relic is accessible, and it's right at the end of the level. This is also one of the last opportunities to pick up any ammo wherever you can. And managed to get through without getting crushed. There's a brief period of time before the door opens up where you collect a few things there. There's a set of souls to restock the Mace of Devastation. We'll use for another jump coming up. And right here, this is where we're going to break the chains and collect. There you go. So normally you're supposed to run into that sigil because it powers up your melee weapons and allows you to break chains. But if you shoot at those chains and then collect the power up, it'll break it for you just by merely picking it up. And here's the combat arena that I mentioned earlier. Popping a Flask of Rage, maximize the damage. Yeah, a lot of flying enemies in this one. There's one introduced in episode 3 called a Symbol. You can see them right there. They're very tanky. I think that's it. Oh, you
missed one.
Oh, it's one of those scrag things.
Yeah, I just found it there.
Yeah, there's quite often some stragglers in this one. Alright, and now for E3M4, we're saving the best for last because this is a very large level. In fact, you'll see in the load screen it takes a bit longer because it's just so freaking huge. But it has some of the best jumps in my opinion in the whole speed run. We'll come into this very large open area, big chasm, and it's sort of like a forge, and it has some very large hanging chains that we'll be jumping off of. But other than that, that's also one of the last opportunities to collect ammo. So yeah, here we are. This level can be kind of confusing in a casual playthrough. Matter of fact, I was so lost I looked up the speedrun route for this level just to get through it. The signposting for when you activate switches is a bit not present at times for this game. And here we are back in the big area, carefully jumping on those suspended platforms. And here's the final use of the mace.
Oh, I don't have saves.
Uh-oh. Saw you pause for a moment.
Oh my god, I still made it. Okay, that's good.
Ran out of save tokens. And this level right here is the end here. There's supposed to be a combat arena, but there's like a slight design oversight. You can just leave because the gate will lower. And that is all artifacts or relics collected. We'll plop those in, head off to the final boss arena, which is totally not somebody who is about to betray us.
Yeah, totally not.
So basically, it's kind of hard to figure out the exact plot here, but I think the final boss was just manipulating us to do his bidding, taking out the two guardians in order to free him. So Sigil of Wrath, you'll break right through those chains, and we'll get teleported into here.
And this is a really long auto-scroller at the start. So I get to have some breathing time here.
And it's very important to note that you do not want to stand near these large pillars with the yellow runes inscribed on them. They can and will fall on you, and you'll have to restart the whole level if that happens, and watch the auto-scroller all over again. So yeah, who saw that coming?
Not me.
So during this time, the boss is going to walk around and waking up these things called a martyr, and you have time to break through the walls and collect as much ammo as you can. These kind of serve as like, you know, Doom 2 Icon of Sin, with it continuously spawning enemies until you take out Romero's head. But instead of a head, we have these suspended bodies that you have to damage enough before the heart becomes visible. And with that taken out, it'll stop them spawning. Okay. And then we'll just rinse and repeat, beat on some enemies with the mace to charge up our alt fire. And this is going to be the time we actually use it as intended to do a lot of damage. Once we make the boss vulnerable. So right, one of the artifacts that Mazu has been collecting throughout the whole run, called the Vicious Animus, is like a egg object that you throw down and it hatches a turret, and we'll be plopping all of those down to maximize our damage against the boss. And we'll just be dumping in everything we got on him. There we go. Drop down 4 eggs, pop a flask, use the mace, and just quick swapping in between the lance and the slag cannon. And there he goes. Once he starts to spin, he's dead. All the enemies will explode, and then the exit portal will appear, and that'll be time.
And time.
GG's, that was really good, really good. Some really hard stuff you nailed first try.
Wait, that's a new PB. By 8 seconds. That was insane. Wow, run.
This is an extremely hard game. Watching you get another world record here live, that's incredibly impressive.
Yeah, that was surprising. Okay, I guess I better do some shoutouts now. Shoutouts to Chambers for helping with skips and some tricks. He did really nice pile runs for the game. Same with DVE, coming up with some tricks that helped with the run. And shout out to my good friend Smileslide, who originally started to find out the movement tech for this game. He was really helpful early on. And shout out to this game's devs, especially level designers. They're right on the screen. Shamblunaut, Fairweather, Stickflip, Muck, and all the others. Ziggy as well. I have to remember my countrymen as well. And yeah, and then shout out to Chaos for doing this amazing commentary on such a short notice. It was really, really helpful. Do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, go follow Mazu, hcmazu, Quake and Doom mapper and occasional speedrunner. I also stream chaos_wolf. I do speedruns and retro achievements. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you for having us both. Yes. Oh, and congrats again on the world record.
Thank you. It was so surprising. And yes, of course, thanks for Ahmad and the crew for hosting this event and having me. I am officially done now. Thanks a lot.